put numbers all over a seating chart. Did we learn anything? Well, I had a discussion with Dave Meltzer a couple of years ago, actually in 2020, and I was asking him how it could be that the capacity of the Silverdome in Michigan, how could it be that the capacity was 80,000 for Lions games, but that when he put 6,000 people on the floor, the attendance was 78,000. He said the capacity was actually at work too. So some years later, that is now, I looked at a bunch of photos of the pre-demolished Pontiac Silverdome after the roof came down, but you can actually see the seats pretty clearly. Some of the seats are missing, but you can get a pretty good indication about where the seats were. I can say I feel pretty confident that the capacity of this building was about 80,000. Now, I think I'm missing some seats here because there are dark shadows, especially in the 100 level, a little bit in the 200 level too, where I think I'm missing some rows, and I've seen at least one ticket stub here that says there's a row 47, which is not a number that I ever counted up to. I think I got up to as high as 46 for some sections. Basically, I'm operating on two assumptions here, though, to get the attendance number for WrestleMania 3 over 78,000. And one of those assumptions is that there's 6,000 people, or there's thousands of people. It doesn't have to be 6,000, could be 8,000, could be 2,000, whatever. There's thousands of people on the floor. And this was close to a sellout, this WrestleMania 3 show that you might have heard of. Was this close to a sellout? Well, 3 days before WrestleMania 3 on March 26, 1987, one Basil DeVito, who's still working for WWE, I think, went to the Lansing State Journal and said it's an absolute sellout. Yeah, what does that mean? But listen to what he says next. I'm just afraid we'll have people showing up Sunday looking for tickets. He's discouraging walk-up business there. Why would he say that if there wasn't a sellout? I know people believe as well and have said that there's standing room only attendance here too. I would like to see more information about that. But if you look at some of these pictures, now some of these bright pictures here that we're looking at right now, you can see some empty blue seats here in the upper deck. Basically, Dave said that he doesn't believe it's a sellout, that it was well short of a sellout, that he had the ticket audit that I've called for Wembley Stadium today. He had the ticket audit for WrestleMania 3, but he threw it away, he told me, because he thought no one would ever be interested in it. He saw the report, and Zane Bresloff said this, who was live events executive for the WWF at this time. Ed Cohen confirmed it to him. He said people related to the Silverdome had confirmed it to him as well, and that this wasn't a sellout. So if you look at some of these pictures, don't know when in the show this was, but you definitely see, maybe this is earlier in the show, because we even got the 100s down here, looking like there's some empties. Okay, obviously this is before the show, where there's a lot of empties. But if you look at a still, this is a still from what I'm told is Vince McMahon's announcement of Miss Aretha Franklin or whatever. You can see up here in the upper decks, looks like some blue here. Looks like some blue here in the upper decks. I also realized there are more production kills here because of this scaffolding that they got here. I did look at the fisheye. This is the highest res picture of WrestleMania 3 that I'm aware of. And I did use a very expensive, highly professional program that many of you have probably never dealt with. You might not have even heard of yet, that I'm gonna show on our screen right now. This is called MS Paint. If you zoom way in on MS Paint, this iconic photo of WrestleMania 3 and the crowd, you can see, and I don't know when during the show this is. If you look in the ring, I mean, looks like probably Howard Finkel standing there. I don't know that there's a match happening here. This could be early in the show still too, but you can see some blue. You see some strips of blue here. You see some chunks of blue over here. Blue. By blue, I mean, seats that do not appear to be filled with humans. If you scroll all the way around here this looks more filled. This is sort of what I might call the sideline seats in the 300s. If you look down here, even you see a pretty good patch in the 200s that's empty. This is what everybody tuned in for, right? For us to look at a grainy photo of an event from 1987 today. You see some blue over here too. This looks like a building that is quite full. A big crowd. Let's not get it wrong, but it does look like, maybe this is not a fully full building. But if we look at, courtesy of the Wichita Eagle, courtesy of David Bixenspan band helping me out last night, possibly via the Associated Press, we do have this from the day after WrestleMania, talking about how there was a traffic jam and people were struggling to get into the building. Thousands of fans muscled their way. You gotta say muscle if you're gonna be the AP and talk about professional wrestling. Thousands of fans muscled their way into Pontiac, Michigan Silverdome on Sunday afternoon for the start of WrestleMania 3. The crowds and traffic jam started 3 hours before the matches. A Silverdome official called the crowd 93,173. Okay. So that's what it said. And then there's this note that's on the photo of the Queen of Soul, Miss Aretha Franklin, in the Detroit News, saying, Motown legend Aretha Franklin sings the national anthem at the beginning of WrestleMania 3. Traffic was so bad getting to the Silverdome, she arrived just on time, with no time for a sound check. So maybe there was a traffic jam. I don't know. But why would Basil DeVito discourage business conflicting stuff there. We knocked down the degree of attendance here. If I say, 98% filled in the 100s, 90% filled in that smaller 200 section, 85% filled in 300s, but pretty full everywhere else. And if I be pretty conservative about suites that may not have even existed in 1987, whatever, I can get to 78,000 if this is not a sellout. I guess that's the way the math works. If you lower the percentages, you can get a number that is closer to the number that you're looking for. What have we learned? I feel like I have learned that Silverdome did hold 80,000 people for football. Now, was it sold out? I'm not so sure. I am right in the middle on that, I would say. That's Wrestlemania 3. If you haven't heard and thought and seen enough about Wrestlemania 3 in your life, there's more.
Would you describe that as like a healthy thing for you to do this past week?
It was wonderful. It was a great mental exercise, and it keeps me limber. What I will say is that I posted a pre-article tweet the night before this article was going to go up and got vociferous reaction. Some people even telling me that I have no life. And I will say, you are wrong. WrestleMania attendance is my life.